Good.
So here's the structure that I have planned for us today. I'll do a brief introduction, a couple minutes on what the goal is here, what we're doing for the context. I'm going to briefly highlight the topics. In future ones, I'm going to pull up the tweets and have them ready to share screen and show you so you can see them. LinkedIn posts, news articles, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
For this first one, I just have them on my end written out that I'll read to you. How is my audio with the music background?
Good. Good. Are we gonna post the video or
I figured the first one we probably won't post the video, but
okay?
let's get some cool backgrounds on, some like
Yeah.
Synergy Lab logo backgrounds, and then get
Yeah.
ready to post the following ones.
Sounds good. Let's
Yep,
do it.
awesome. So yeah, the goal here today of this founder interview, we'll be throwing a few tweets, LinkedIn posts, and news articles that have come up over the last week at Sardor, the founder of Synergy Labs, mobile and web app development firm, a boutique firm based out of Miami, Florida. So we're setting the stage for this to blossom into some great content. Yeah, I want to pass it over to you, Sardor. What are your thoughts on this process?
Yeah. Super excited. This is our first one and first of many. I'm I know like we need to create more content, and this is a very good start. It gets me like going on. Just it's like there's a saying in Russian that says like the appetite comes during food, right? So the appetite opens up, and I know I'm gonna do more of this. I know a lot of our customers, they ask questions that we respond to very often in the same way for every call. So this content is going to be that hub where we're going to send them in. We're going to be able to get a lot of information and insights that, sometimes they seem obvious to us, but
Yeah,
for a lot of people, it's news. So we gotta we gotta realize how much value is in these. So yeah, very excited about this.
yeah,
Thank you, Andrew, for organizing it.
yeah. So much value, comes up in our everyday lives, in our work lives that falls through the cracks right there. It goes in one ear, out the other. It doesn't get repurposed, doesn't get passed on. All the knowledge that is, going through that, and excited to start capturing that. It's a way to build up your content, our content, everybody's content. So excited to kind of walk through our five topics today, get your initial thoughts, and then we'll dive into them further. And I have some follow up questions for each. So the first one I'm going to present here is a tweet that says, "I'm building a new mobile app. Here's what I'm doing to avoid perfectionism and procrastination. I'm building all the features with the ugliest possible UI, unstyled buttons, no accent colors, no shadows, no fancy animations. Once the features are completed, I'll do a complete but quick restyle and release the app." Any initial thoughts on that?
I'm totally with this guy or girl, whatever their name is. Very good approach. You should not worry about your looks of the MVP. Although I'm very big on design personally, I sometimes get carried away with how I want my MVP to look really good. But you can make it look without anything fancy. I mean, one of the products I built, it was one of the fastest products I released in 6 weeks. It looked super simple, but at the same time very clean. So it doesn't have to look ugly. That's one thing to keep in mind. I think design can make a difference, especially if you're releasing a competitor product to already exist, as opposed to something that's so brand new that it's very rare when you find a niche where there's so much demand penned up and there's no supply. And if you're in that situation, absolutely, yeah, even the ugliest product will fly. But if you're trying to make something that is competing directly with what exists, like if I was trying to do a newsletter software like Beehive, it would be hard for me to release something ugly and attract people. So I don't have enough context on this person's app idea, but in general, I do agree with them. A lot of our clients, they get carried away with perfection and they take too long to launch. And in today's age, especially with AI, you got to be fast in terms of how you execute because the barrier to entry has gone lower in terms of how fast you can develop, right? I mean, we are one of the agencies that focuses on fast development, and I'm seeing more and more agencies like us that, you know, do that, or developers that do that. So if you wait too long, you can miss out on an opportunity. I'm totally with this person, but also consider the context you're in. If you're trying to compete, you may not be able to afford an ugly design.
Yeah, no, I love that huge point on the context of everything, the context you're in, and kind of zooming out from this, avoiding perfection, procrastination. I think it's something all of us entrepreneurs face, right? With anything, not just the development side of things, your marketing, your business operations, your decisions, and it's something that I've come to learn is, building through iteration. Iteration is everything. The more times you get feedback from people, you get a next draft out there, the better the end product's going to be. But it is definitely an internal battle with me myself.
100%. Yeah. I mean, we try to approach the same way in the company too, right? I mean, I'm not thrilled with our current website, but I initially remember how we tried to like redesign it fully, and then we were setting things off. Then I said, you know what? Until the fully redesign, let's keep adding things onto the current website. We're not gonna have to wait for it. So, 100%.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I have some specific questions on this one. You kind of touched on a couple of them, but let's ask this one directly. Do you think this approach is suitable for all app types, or are there exceptions?
Okay. Oh, that was your follow-up question. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I just mentioned. Yeah. So it isn't. That's what I realized is like, the whole concept of MVP was popularized by Eric Ries and his book, The Lean Startup, right? And that's what everybody follows. And he kind of says something like, or I think it was Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, that said, if you're not embarrassed for MVP, you've overthought it. Correct, yes, but again, I think one exception there is if you're launching a direct competitor to something that already exists and you're targeting the same demographic. I mean, it's different if you're targeting a different audience with the same product. Yeah, that could again fly, right? So I think that the question you have to ask in that situation is like, am I trying to win over customers from an existing solution, or am I presenting something that is brand new to a place that does not have any supply? One example: we're about to start development on an app for construction industry that all it does is it keeps track of inventory. But you would think, oh, location track and all these fancy features. No, this is actually a simpler version of what already exists, a much simpler version without any integrations, without any location tracking. It's simply you have a list of inventory, and then it's like a logbook. You just it's only thing it's competing with this app is going to be pen and paper. That a lot of these businesses, you were there. I mean, when this person said, "Hey, we're using pen and paper for this,"
Yeah.
so that's your competition. A lot of the times, you don't realize that the solution you're releasing is competing not with another software, but with a pen and paper, or a lot of times a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
So in those cases, yeah, you can afford to do that. That's a very good thing. Like, you should not actually. It would be a big mistake if you, even in the future, to do a fancy design for something that actually requires a simple design. But let's say I'm again going back to the same example of, I'm trying to release a competitor to Beehive, right? That isn't gonna, even though Beehive actually as well, though. I mean, when they were releasing, they were trying to compete with what's the competitor, Substack, right? And but their design was good. The design was good. You see, like they didn't. Yeah, it was laid back. It was missing a lot of features. Oh, one other thing that would allow you to do this, even if you're doing a competitor, direct competitor, though, I think is like, if you have a feature that a competitor is missing, and that feature you think is going to set you aside, and even if you don't have other features that a competitor product has, you can still win some people over. right? Because that's what the point of MVP is. And back to the same book of like Eric Ries, the Lean Startup, is that in your MVP, you should have one feature that no competitor has. That's what people are going to have, going to switch over to you for. And if you do that, then you can afford not to have other features. Again, an example of Beehive. What did it do? It was a newsletter platform that did not charge a fee on your income. They still don't. So that was a big game changer. So look at the audience of Substack that it was competing with, right? It came to market after Substack was already big. But Substack, you didn't own your audience. Substack still owns the audience, right? And they take a cut, but they had like 20 different features. Beehive comes to market with no features, like very laid back product, but one big differentiator. They don't take a cut. And that alone had people switch over to a inferior product, which was Beehive at the time, from Substack because they had that game changer feature. Now, if they didn't have that, if they were strictly just copying Substack and going to market with a Substack copy, they could never win over any customers with an inferior product. You see,
Yeah.
so those are two scenarios. You need to either launch something that does not exist in the market, or you have to do something that is competing directly but has a big differentiator that your competitor doesn't have, in which case you can afford to have an inferior or even worse looking product. Like, I mean, for Beehive, it doesn't really matter much how the product looks because the product is an internal product.
Yeah.
It's like a B2B type of almost thing, right? So there's a lot of nuances, but these are some of the examples of where you can afford to. I feel like this alone, this answer, this could be a whole article of its own. I love this.
Yeah.
When you can afford to have an inferior MVP to your competitor versus not.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
think of a couple other examples where you could do that. You can probably think of a couple other examples that we can add.
Absolutely. Yeah, and on I touched on that point of Beehive. It brings to mind of stale market leaders, right? I would consider Substack before Beehive, blossom to where they are, were one of those stale market leaders. They weren't really innovating, shipping new features. So not only winning over those customers on the front end, but continuing to win them over
Right.
is something that I think Beehive has done with the add-in of the boosts and the ad revenue that you can get directly from there, and their website builder that they're getting ready to launch. So I think that's another key component is if you do take over and win over customers from a stale market leader, keep executing on that shipping, and you'll see the results like Beehive has.
Absolutely. Yeah, that very good point. That's exactly what I was thinking about earlier when we had a call with this new potential client. That they are that's like always think of Beehive as the best example of a product that came to market late, but reached feature parity with competitors very quickly and added on top and still shipping very fast, beating the competition. I mean, yes, that's absolutely right. It's not just enough to win people over with the steps that we discussed earlier, but also continue to
Yep.
keep them on the platform, right? That's 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that was a good prompt, good question there about avoiding perfectionism, procrastination in general, but also mobile app development. Keeping the ball rolling here onto our next topic, preferred mobile app for browsing. So now this is something you don't generally think about. If you're an iPhone user, Safari is there as soon as you download the phone. A lot of people tend to use Safari for browsing. Now, this question specifically said, what's your preferred app, Safari, Chrome, or Microsoft Edge? Surprisingly enough, those are the three they offered, or something else. Now, I'll touch on this a little bit myself. I tend to go the Safari route almost all the time. Occasionally, we'll use the Chrome or sometimes even the Google app. But Microsoft Edge is not one that I have
Yeah,
downloaded.
no, me neither. I've not used it. Going back to like the early days of mobile, like back when we had those like phones with buttons, right? Which sounds archaic, but that was like relatively recently. I used to use, oh, how do you pronounce opera? Opera?
Not familiar.
It's like Opera, I think is the pronunciation. That's like Opera. They still have a browser. They have a VPN installed, like secure browsers, how they're positioning themselves. Back in days, it was a hit, and I used to use that as an alternative browser. But yes, ever since I've been an iPhone user, it's default Safari. But Safari is only on mobile. Yeah, on desktop, I use Brave. I tried Brave on mobile. It's very hard as an iPhone user to switch to any other alternative. The
That's
Apple, as we know, is really good at creating modes.
yeah.
So they, even when you're sharing a file, they make it a default to send it to iMessage. It's really such a great advantage that they have, is that they control the OS and they can suggest what apps you use, and they always suggest their own apps. But I was thinking about it recently, is that how we Apple's own products are usually inferior to any other alternative products. Like Chrome obviously is way better than
Yeah.
Safari, but people use it as a default. So I don't have an alternative browser, but I feel like Andrew, I think our alternative browser in the near future might actually become ChatGPT.
This is exactly where my brain was going. I partially thought this question was a boomer question when I first read it because there's Perplexity, right, which is specifically a search engine app, AI search engine app, and ChatGPT as well, with how they've kind of infiltrated and offered to make it the default search on Chrome as well. My one Chrome account default search to ChatGPT. I love it sometimes. I hate it some other times when I'm actually trying to be on Google. But this brings up a side question that I've thought before that I think is very important. Is at one point, you know, everybody's product search, buying a physical product started on Google. A couple years ago, when Amazon really took off, there's the stat of Amazon now 54% of product searches start on Amazon. So what I'm curious of where we go is when is, X percentage of Google searches or inquiries in general are going to start on ChatGPT or other AI engines.
I think I recently read that. I might be wrong here, but I was trying to gauge what percentage of market has ChatGPT or LLMs have taken. I
Yeah.
think it was 2% of search market is already taken by LLMs,
Well,
which is huge because another stat I read recently is that every 1 percentage point of, I think that was on All In podcast is what they mentioned, that every 1% of search market, you know how much that equals in
no,
market cap?
can't imagine.
That's $10 billion for 1% of the market. So like the $1 trillion market that, so LLMs have taken away pretty much from Google $20 billion of market valuation, and
Wow.
that's huge. And I'm not a default ChatGPT search guy yet. But I feel like I'm becoming one. I've actually also set it up as my default search on Chrome, and I'm not switching back because when in cases when I'm not comfortable, I'm typing google.com and searching. But I think a good 40% of my searches are staying on GPT now.
Yeah.
I've made myself do this because I'm seeing that this is going to go from 2% from the market penetration to 20% very soon, and maybe even more. It's the biggest threat to Google, as we know. So I'm trying to prepare myself for our SEO and marketing game for when LLMs are going to dominate.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. It's a great
So
point.
yeah, I think alternative browsers really become that because we are going less to Safari. And as you know, did you know that Google pays how much? I think how many billions was it? I think it's $10 billion a year or $4 billion a year to Apple to be the default browser, the search engine on their Safari browser on iPhone. Did you know that?
Yes, that is a good point. While they seem like, direct competitors that don't shake hands, they do
Oh,
cross
absolutely
over.
they do. Yeah, they have a back end deal that I think got revealed in a lawsuit or something accidentally
Yeah.
leaked. And so with that, now think about how much less we're using Google, how much more we're using GPT every time. That's not only taken away from Google. That's taken away from Safari as a browser too, because a lot of these browsing minutes that we'd be spending, hours we'd be spending on Safari, is already going to GPTs. That's actually what I just realized now, speaking with you. It's
Yeah.
like it's not just search, it's not just Google that is getting cannibalized by, not cannibalized, but but taken away from
Yeah.
by GPT or LLMs. It's Safari browser too.
Yeah. Wow.
And apps like, oh, another thing, actually, Andrew, I just realized another browser I do use without realizing. See, so many things we don't realize explicitly, but we are using them. I'm a heavy user of Telegram, as you know.
Yep.
Telegram actually launched their own internal browser inside the app. And so
Really.
you used to be taken away from Telegram when you open a link to Safari, but now Telegram has tabs. They literally have a browser inside.
Wow.
So, and I don't like it again. It's not because it's bad. It's just I'm not used to that UI. I
Yep.
guess I'm getting old and it's hard for me to embrace new things, but a lot of times I'm staying inside Telegram, not getting away to Safari.
Do they have a default search engine on that
It's a good question.
browser?
I gotta ask. The thing is, you can't really open a new tab.
Yeah,
You can
it
only open
takes
a
you.
link,
Gotcha.
but then it shows the URL. Actually, I'm gonna try to do that right now. Let me open a link here on Telegram and see what that's a very good point. I think we got to make a separate article about this because a
Yep.
whole, search engine market and how apps are now not giving away their traffic to Safari but keeping it inside their apps is a big, very interesting topic.
Yep.
So if I were to open let me see, okay, so I'm on the browser here and let me try to search. Oh, it doesn't let you
It doesn't allow you to.
doesn't let you search. I think when you type in they have this whole thing with the URL address in
Gotcha.
the browser, but they don't. If you type in that URL, it doesn't take you anywhere.
You got to have a URL itself.
You gotta have a URL. So yeah, they didn't really make it that way. I think Telegram is still premature to have their own search engine. I mean, search engine is a big game,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a very interesting
Will
thing.
be interesting to see what unfolds there. Let's move on to number three, and for the sake of
Sorry, can I throw in
time,
a prediction there?
yeah,
I think we got to spice it out with predictions, and some of them can come true. My prediction is that seeing what Telegram has done and knowing what Zuck likes to do, and our goal with this is WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, all of these apps have a lot of traffic that they pass on. So I
for
feel like
them,
everything that's going to be organic links, not ads. Obviously, ads is where they make money, and they're going to keep sending you to whatever the
yeah,
advertiser wants to send you. But links, organic links. If somebody posts a link on Facebook, I think they might want to keep you on their app in the
yeah,
browser, not instead of going to Safari. And right
yeah,
now, default apps they open up a Safari
web view,
pop-up
yeah,
web view. Yeah, they're gonna probably, my prediction, they're gonna develop in the near future their own browser because we know how Zuck wants to compete with Apple. He hates Apple.
yeah,
He's gonna try to do that.
yeah. And that reminds me, Zuck kind of just made a 180 on Instagram and Facebook's policies regarding
Yes.
their censorship and that what we've seen there. And it's funny timing because a couple weeks ago, I sent somebody an X.com, a Twitter link, in DMs on Instagram. It didn't even hyperlink or show up. It was straight gray, no image, no preview.
Really?
Yeah, and um,
In the
just
chat, you mean on X?
in the chat, yeah, it was just straight grayed out, no hyperlink, no nothing. Now, yesterday, a couple days after this announcement, I sent an X link, and it actually hyperlinked in Instagram DMs. So it seems they might be getting more friendly to that. I know when they launched Threads, it was kind of
Oh, you sent an X link in the DM on Instagram and didn't hyperlink. Now it is.
yeah,
Ah.
yeah. Interesting enough, because there was a lot of beef there when they launched Threads that it was going to
Yeah,
be the Twitter X
yeah.
killer and all that. So seems they might be getting more friendly or realizing the reach that X
I
link.
think Zuck is, not to get too political, but he's going Team MAGA here, and he's probably having. He's not making it public, but he's probably sitting down with Trump and Elon and hanging out there, and they're like making these deals probably.
Yeah, position yourself for the powers that be in these.
100%. Yeah, that's what everybody's doing right now. So,
Yeah. But talking X and Twitter, that rolls us right into our third one. This isn't anything too crazy. You may not have been able to test out the app yet, but maybe something you can for our next weekly call here. This one's titled All Grok All the Time. So, Grok itself, the AI built into
nice.
Twitter and X, just yesterday launched its own standalone mobile app. So
Really?
now you can
Oh,
utilize the full features on their native iOS Grok app.
mm.
And I'm going to be curious to see where that goes.
Oh yeah, they do have an app with just for reviews.
Yeah,
Interesting. I'm gonna download this and check it out for our next episode. I mean, this was we knew that was gonna come. I still don't know if Grok is XAI is the same thing or are they different?
yeah. It's think OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Ah, so
Grok's
XAI is the parent
ChatGPT.
company for Grok.
Yep, yep,
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's Grok is the product. Okay. Well, I'm very curious where this is gonna go. I know Elon is a very competitive guy and he always wins. So
yeah,
I'm bullish on this. I haven't really used Grok a lot. I've tried it once, but I've just become so accustomed to ChatGPT. It's hard to switch to any other LLM. But I think
yeah,
we're gonna live in a world of using multiple LLMs every day,
yep,
and Grok is probably gonna be one of the big ones.
yeah. I would agree with that. They all got their pros and cons, and it's similar to any other software. Once you're used to using it, it's hard to break away from.
100%.
Yep. And now this one rolls right into ChatGPT itself. This one I'm really excited for your thoughts on. ChatGPT training for teams. Now, this tweet came from Andrew Wilkinson of Tiny VC,
Yep.
fairly popular in the startup space. He tweeted, I need a company to train a team of people on how to use ChatGPT. Who should I hire? Basically, spend an afternoon with a team of people in Vancouver helping them master ChatGPT. Is
Huh.
this a service you would consider offering to some of our clients?
Oh wow. That's very interesting. I mean, I definitely know, and we are getting into this market. We're about to sign a deal for AI development, right? But and we just brought on our new head of AI, but we were obviously thinking deeper level AI integration, API integration, customization, prompt engineering, and all that. This kind of request, especially from somebody like Wilkinson, who I admire a lot, read his books, is interesting because this type of request seems like I don't know, very trivial to me. Is like I would not. I'm very surprised this came in.
I think it's the thought of us when we're so deep into Chat GPT, been using it for 2 years plus, whatever it may be. Um, but you can you imagine how valuable that is for example, you mentioned the construction company we're working with of training a staff on how to use Chat GPT and having couple days seminar training on it. I think it'll be huge in the future as more and more
And as GPT
employees
gets more advanced and has more features, absolutely, yeah.
that and as more and more people down the across the business and down the scale of the employee tree, and not just in the tech space or the marketing space where everybody's using Chat GPT.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So regarding us offering this service, it would be interesting just for the standpoint of seeing what else we can develop. I think this is a little basic for us, I would say, because we are still a very engineering team and we'd want to do more of development.
Yeah,
But this kind of workshop, this is more like ed tech or like educational kind of businesses. I would say this is an opportunity for somebody to create a business that does like software training, right? I think those there are government contracts for software training. I think there's a huge opportunity for a government sector here.
yeah,
I remember when I tried to go down the rabbit hole of getting government contracts, which we're getting now. But when I was trying to just penetrate and get into the government contracting, I remember there were a lot of contracts for software training.
yeah,
And I think this is a huge opportunity for somebody to open it up. And government actually funds with either contracts or grants. And there are even you can open up like a charter school that government pays for you to educate people. They pay people's tuition. And in this kind of cases, you could start an entire business that trains people on, when we think AI, we think like advanced stuff because we're already using like 80% capacity of GPT as like techies. It's very hard to break out of our own bubble where we're like super power users. We're the people that OpenAI is losing money on. Sam Altman recently tweeted, right? They're losing
Yeah,
money on. That's
they're
because of
losing
us.
money on the plus plan that they released because of how much people are using it. Yeah,
Exactly. But that's mainly because of
the
us. I
pro.
feel like it's an 80-20. Is like we're the top 20% of users that's making up all the 80% of the usage. So with that said though, so I'm not sure how we would offer this. If this could be honestly from the business perspective, like a lead magnet for us, where we could come in and do this and then explore how else we can deeply integrate AI into the business.
Yeah,
Yes, that's a good idea. I would be down, publicly saying this, I would be down for somebody who could open this business to partner with us as a top of funnel partner so they could make money on the training and refer to us if the client needs deeper development in the AI.
that makes sense. Now I'm gonna spin another question back at you.
Sure.
Could this problem here, right, of companies looking to adopt AI tools throughout their workforce, could that be solved with an app? And a follow up, could that be solved with an LLM powered app?
So like an app, LLM powered app that trains you on another LLM, like trains you on using
How
another
to use it?
LLM.
Yeah, is that
I
possible?
think so. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a catch 22, right? That you need another LLM to learn an LLM, but I think yeah, like the barrier to entry to GPT is that it's a chat based and people really underestimate its powers or don't know how to use it. Yeah, so and they don't really do a great job of actually teaching the prompts and how to best use it unless you ask it. It's there are tricks. Like one of the things that they've been discussing lately a lot on My First Million podcast is how they use GPT, if you've seen that latest episode.
Yeah,
And Sean said a great thing there that whenever he wants to get an answer, before he asks for an answer, he asks GPT to ask him questions to get to know the issue better and then suggest they inform this. So like that is a part of training. He kind of like did a little bit of training. I haven't used GPT that way. Now I do because of
yeah,
how he taught me. Now you see those things. He probably read a tweet or somebody's post on how they're doing it. I think yes, that's a great idea actually, Andrew. Is like to create an app that trains people on it because OpenAI itself does not focus on that.
yeah.
They don't really do a bunch
They're
to
building for the developers, not the average
yeah,
Joes.
for
The
sure. Because
Joes who
that's
use
where
it.
they make money. That's
Yeah,
where they're making up their profit. They're losing money on consumer, but they're making money on developers. So they cater more to developers, but they also don't do a bunch. And I feel like it's such a deep blue ocean that even if OpenAI itself, let's say, created a department that educates people on using OpenAI, they wouldn't be the best ones at it. Why? Because it's such a the best teacher is a decentralized community because people are going to keep on uncovering new ways to use GPT.
yeah.
And so it has to be a crowdsourced app. If somebody's going to create that app, it has to be a crowdsourced knowledge app where, you
The
know,
Stack Overflow for ChatGPT.
yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. And then, but LLM powered and LLM UI focused, like chat
Yeah.
UI is where it
And
starts.
one other thing that you brought up is the people aspect of it, in the context setting. When you mentioned, um, starting off a prompt as, "Hey, here's what my goal is. What do you need from me to get it done?" Versus saying, "Hey, I need you to do this." Think about that application back to normal human nature. If you just tell me, "Hey, do this," versus say, "Hey, I need this done. What do you need from me?" That performs better in the workplace. It performs better with
Ah,
ChatGPT.
very good point, Andrew, because that's right. Not all managers and leaders know how to delegate properly. And what you're describing there is a a good skill of a delegator and a manager. So I feel like the fact that Sean actually uncovered this might have been not a tweet from someone else, but because that's how he works in his workspace. That's how he works with his team, right?
Yep.
So he's treating GPT as his employee. And that's a very good philosophy, I think, to have also is like if you're a good manager, treat GPT as your employee and talk to it like you would talk to an employee. That is a very good point.
Yeah. I think context, missing context is one of the hugest losses of productivity in all workplaces. Um,
100%. We're guilty of that. I
yep.
mean,
And then asking questions that goes hand in hand.
yes.
Yeah.
I do have to jump
Yeah.
to another
No,
one.
I
Yeah,
think
dude,
that's
this
a
was
good
so
place.
good. This was
The fifth one was something that I wasn't that great, and it's highlights a somewhat competitor. It's a AI powered website optimization
mm,
platform that
mm,
think A/B testing, but the AI just continuously optimizes the website. But we
mm.
can save that for next week or scratch it. But I think
Yeah,
this,
let's save it to next week. All these questions are amazing. Got my wheels spinning. I think we should turn this into a podcast, even if we start amateur like this.
yeah,
Then maybe I'm thinking like every Friday we do a co-working together, and then we could do it here in my building. At the end of the day, we finish off with this podcast.
yeah,
I have all the gear.
for in person. Okay.
Yeah, I have an editor too. I have a
Okay.
full-time editor
That
that I'm
was the next thing I was gonna say. Is
no,
the
I have a
edit?
full-time editor that I'm paying, so you could just then turn it into a nice podcast.
Yeah.
We chop it up,
And
post it on our
all
website.
these people we mentioned, we can tag and add and snippets
So
and
this is amazing. This what we're doing here. This alone in and of itself is great for us, and to sell as a service, as a marketing service, dude. Amazing, great idea, dude. I love it.
yeah. Where the idea spun off of, and I know you got to hop, was Sean Peary said, I think podcasts are lame now. And I think I mentioned this to you, where he started doing an email style podcast where he'd email
Oh
his
yeah,
guest and then they would just continue the email chain but try to talk like they're on a podcast. But yeah.
no, I love this. I love this. But then repurposing this content also is a great idea. So
Yep.
let's keep it going. Chop it up to blogs and shit like that. Even this, we could post the raw video. All
All
right.
right. I'll let you hop.